Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start off today by asking you a question. How do you have an identity when you have no home? Many people who live in modern societies have been displaced from their home countries, such as North Koreans who fled theirs, Iraqis from theirs, and Palestinians from mine, usually due to some complex political stuff. You know how it is. But this is what fundamentally causes an identity crisis amongst the displaced, living as they do in places they don't classify as their home. It leaves us with questions as to our true identity, who we are and where we fit in. Many people believe that an identity is unique to them, but it's influenced by a variety of factors, such as our physical spaces, our culture, our songs and dances, the words we use to greet one another and exclaim in moments of joy or sadness, the stories we hear from our grandparents, and the flavors we grow accustomed to. In essence, our identity is defined by our personal experiences, the way in which we perceive them, and our emotional investment in them. My experiences have been influenced by what has been a nomadic sort of existence, an adventure through the cultures I've had the privilege to live among. I was born in Bradford, England, where I lived for 10 years, upon moving to Dubai, where I've been for the past 6.5 years. I have 4 passports: British, Canadian, Jordanian, Lebanese. No idea how. I think my parents played the game pretty well. But ultimately, I classify myself as a Palestinian, because that is where my background originates from. It's the upbringing I received from parents who both classify themselves as Palestinian, and how I choose to define myself. No matter how much I try, I cannot think of myself as someone from any of my official nationalities. For many people, home is a physical space. It's classified by the sand, dirt, or soil under our feet. It's something we can physically touch, engage with, or see. We notice the architecture of these places, the buildings, the infrastructure, and the terrain. It becomes an idea of where we want to belong. Home, if in Dubai, is where there are towers and skyline of the desert. We hear the traffic on its main roads, the people in its malls, and the familiar noise of school. For many, the saying, wherever earth, home, rings profoundly true. As a Palestinian, I've often questioned my identity, as I don't have this physical place to call home. And living in Dubai, many people go back to their home countries on holiday, but I don't have that opportunity due to the restrictions and limitations prevalent there, such as the wall of separation or the destruction of our homes. And this idea becomes one that is alien to us being the displaced. England comes close for me as a place where I was born and brought up for 10 years. But in all honesty, at this moment in time, I would not classify it as my physical home. What I want and feel, though, is that somehow my identity should be Palestinian. Yet, how could my identity be defined by a culture that was or is not mine? And how could a memory of a place I experienced when I was 10 years old be how I choose to define myself as? What I realized was that the reality can be different to what we want to believe. Am I truly someone who can call himself a Palestinian merely because that is where I originate from? Possibly, but not probably. I realized that this identity I was claiming came as a result of it being the loudest narrative in my life. It's a topic consistently discussed in the news, by my parents, by their friends. It creeps up on me at school, on the net, and occasionally in games, and therefore dominates my thoughts. It becomes an idea of where I want to belong, but possibly not the reality of who I am completely. But what is home? Like I said, home can be a physical space, but it can also be an idea. Home is where we can relax, where we feel comfortable, where we're safe. It's where we can go to the bathroom for however long we desire. Home is where we speak the language, understand the culture, and ultimately, where we feel the greatest affinity. Whilst some of these are physical aspects, they are ideas, feelings, and emotions that become home in our mind's eye. And this identity of a Palestinian that I'm claiming is one that sustains some of these feelings and emotions and causes me to invest time and effort into it. It becomes a crucial aspect of my identity, like the heart to the body, faith to religion, or words to a poem. When I was initially thinking about this talk, I thought home was a fixed concept. But home can change throughout a person's life, depending on their lifestyle or circumstances. My identity has been influenced by living in Dubai, living in England, as well as originally being Palestinian. This makes me a hybrid of sorts, kind of like the Cars. In the end, I've fallen into the cliche of calling myself a global citizen who's mixed a variety of different cultures, ideas, and beliefs into one. There is immense joy and safety in cliches, and they too have a part to play, it turns out. There are so many factors that contribute to one's identity, and I do not believe that someone of a nomadic lifestyle can claim one single one. Results in a diversification of experiences that together produce who I am. I can say I'm Palestinian or someone from any of my official nationalities, but I'm not one single one. I'm a bit of all. I find I'm resisting a singular classification. One tag does not suffice. And back to the question, how do you have an identity when you have no home? Home does not have to be a physical space, but it can be an idea that fuels your ambitions. Home does not have to be constant, either, much like the identity it influences. I've taken with me many valuable experiences that have enabled me to understand and experience the world from differing perspectives, and that will continue to happen. Although I don't have one place to call home, or one single identity, I find I'm not less of anything. Perhaps I'm more. Thank you.